going?
Um, it's good. What about you?
I'm doing pretty fucking good. Just fucking vibing. I just grabbed four different beers from downstairs, and the first one I opened was incredibly fucking gross. So,
Alcohol is
hey,
it's the
listen,
drink of the
just a
devil.
little,
You know,
just
you
a
shouldn't be
little
doing it.
bit, a little bit of degenerate behavior is okay as long as it's in moderation, right?
I actually, I like barely drink. I only drink on special occasions
A woman of the
or like when
Lord.
I'm socially pressured to. I used to go to parties and I would like pretend to drink the beer so I look cool, and then I'd go to the sink and dump it out.
Did you like put it to your lips and pretend like you were sipping and stuff, or did you just hold on
Oh
to it?
yeah. Yeah, because it just makes you feel so much like, especially if you're like socially anxious at a party, whenever you're going for the sip, it makes you feel less awkward during the breaks in conversation.
Huh.
Yeah, I would dump it out
Interesting.
later.
I don't think I ever did that. I just refused it at first. And then I stopped refusing when people were offering me liquor, but I always refused beer. But now I feel like I drink too much, and so I've started drinking beer so that I kind of moderate it out, kind of space it out in between drinks.
Yeah, I guess it's a little bit better. It's not as bad as just drinking like vodka straight up.
Anyone, let me tell you something. Before we get into the major debate that we're about to have, the
Oh
big
no.
bridge burning debate that we're about to have, anyone that drinks vodka straight, like as a choice, and not because they don't have mixers, is an actual fiend, and there something has to be done to stop them. All right, it just tastes like rubbing alcohol. It's the fucking
Have you
grossest
ever
shit.
have you ever like rubbing alcohol or like nail polish
Yes.
remover? You have? Yeah.
Oh wait,
So
you've done that too, right? That's why you're asking, right? Okay.
yeah, I used to go to
Okay.
like these bonfires when I was younger all the time, and there was always like this group of Russian guys that like would show up offering girls like
It
drinks,
would
and
be
it was
Russians.
literally just like rubbing alcohol.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Yeah.
Okay, one second. I'm just fixing my title real quick.
What are you gonna put in there? Burning the bridge with aristocracy?
Well, now I have to change it because you stole my title. No, you know what? We'll keep it. Burning the bridge. You know what? That would be a really good name for a panel show.
Burning the bridge?
Yeah,
Burning bridges?
Burning Bridges podcast, where you just bring people on that fucking hate each other, or that are friends and they have one disagreement. You're like, hey, come on this podcast, and you just have the most blow up fucking drama
Yeah, just
filled goddamn.
I actually I will do that with you. We gotta compete with Heem's podcast, you
We
know?
gotta listen. We're gonna do it at the same time as Heem's podcast. All right.
Yeah, no, and then we'll literally burn the bridge with him while we
Yes.
start burning bridges. It's perfect.
Okay. Save the title. Alrighty. So tell me, why is Vosh okay? Implying it's okay to do anything to Riley.
Oh, I don't think it's okay, right?
Defend doxing to me right now.
Oh my god. Um, I'm sweating. This is really tough. I don't know if I can handle this. Well, it was nice chatting to you, Sondsol. So, um, thanks for inviting me. I don't think, honestly, if Vosh was doing the things that people are accusing him of doing, then I would be criticizing him as much as anyone. And maybe this is just me being biased or like, um, because I like Vosh as a person. Um, and so maybe I'm just super naive. But as someone that has misspoken and said really dumb stuff, like accidentally on stream when I meant something else, I really, and knowing him and how he feels about harassment and stuff, like even when it disagrees with, like, even when the person who's the victim is not on his political side, I know he cares about that stuff. I don't know if he used to as much, but he's like grown to care about that. So it's
Mhm.
really, so when I saw that clip, I just had I still have a hard time believing that he really wanted people to go out and harass RGR. Like, and I really feel like he was just talking about, like, when he said, like, like, we're not going to respect her, right? I think, like, he was referring to kind of the way he has, like, the way he operates his stream. Is like, there's like streamers that he really likes, and then there's streamers he doesn't like, and that meant he was like kind of putting her in the category of people we don't like. um and like speaking from his perspective. So it seemed like, yeah, they're gonna say, they're gonna be much more critical than they normally, like the gloves are coming off kind of thing. Like in his stream, I don't think he meant like go out and harass her, or like let's be super mean to her. And that might be just being too charitable. It's just like, I just know how he feels about that kind of harassment. And I
Yeah.
think like yeah, and I think he was just mad, and I do think he was irresponsible with his language. Like saying go nuclear, you've got to be really careful, like when you're a streamer and like your platform, on the language that you're using in those situations. And yeah, saying going nuclear, it's like, going nuclear can mean many different things to different people, and because it's like so vague and it can be interpreted in such an extreme way, um it's definitely irresponsible language. And I have a feeling, I haven't spoken to him about this, but I have a feeling he would regret it, like, or he does regret it.
Yeah, I would say there's been a lot of really irresponsible things being said in the past 2 or 3 days, and that's where I'm coming from. Maybe I'm reading into it less charitably because I've seen so many other really fucking shit takes. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I just feel like with the way that people are already engaging with RGR, talking like that is a really, really, um, it implies so much to people who, because, like, fuck, someone just said this. Spectre said this, that he doesn't believe in talking about these things openly. Like, there are some people who might need to be reported to an ethics board, like a doctor who's like putting out like anti-vaccine stuff, or bragging online about abusing his patients or something, right? The person needs to be reported. But like putting that out there and saying that you should report people who do X action, when there's so many stupid fucking people on the internet, and we all know that chatters are subhuman and just not very smart. Putting that out there
My
for
chatters
his
are like the smartest people ever. I don't know what's up
don't
with
you
you,
give them way too much credit. I don't know.
Ray.
But the like putting that out there for people who might take your statement and either take it to its full logical conclusion when you didn't really mean that because you're hyperbolizing, or people who might you know fully understand what you're saying, but use that as an excuse, like, no, we'll see, like, we're all going to war against this person, right? Like, that's what we're supposed to do, right? I feel like it just leads to so many worse outcomes for people that are already actively being harassed.
Yeah, that's why I think his language was really irresponsible. I think he should have been more careful. I think he was angry in the moment.
Mhm.
And yeah, I think he was angry in the moment. And so he spoke badly. I don't think, like, and I agree he deserves criticism for using that kind of language, but I have a hard time believing that he like really wants his community to go out and attack and harass RGR, because he regularly tells them not to do that. I think like in that moment he misspoke. He was being hyperbolic because he was angry, and he wasn't responsible with his language.
Mhm.
So I think in general, streamers need to be a lot more responsible with their language. But this is a tough situation because um, there's like RGR she's been mean to like a lot of people behind the scenes, and she's not very like good at making. I'm trying to find the right way to word this. Um, yeah, she's being mean to people behind the scenes, even people that have been try to be really kind to her and wanted to be nice to her. Like sometimes it feels like she wants people to hate her. By like, and I don't know if what she's going through behind closed doors. So like I don't want to speak too negatively about her, but I think like sometimes people end up not like the consequence of that is like people end up being the opposite of charitable towards you.
Sure.
And especially like I've seen a lot of people who normally would super disagree with how she's getting treated. Like they would disagree with almost anyone else, but they're chill with it happening to RGR because like they're annoyed with her, right?
Mm.
And it's something that I had to like catch. I had to make sure that I would not do myself, right? Because the way she's getting treated is like insane. Like it's crazy. Like people
Yes.
contacting the bar and wanting to like ruin her life and saying that she's like the enemy of like trans
Like, or the fucking, I
I
don't
know
know if you saw the
she
gay
said
fesh
stupid shit.
tweet, but like RGR is literally our enemy. Like, it's like, whoa, holy fucking shit. It sounds like a Metal Gear Solid antagonist fucking speech, the way that they talk about her. It's insane. And I guess I just I don't have that personal experience with RGR. I'm not RGR's friend. I'm not RGR's enemy. I just see her in this space and I see how people are talking about her and the things that they're doing to her. And I'm just like fucking appalled, right? That this is how things are going.
Yeah, but that's what I think. Like,
Yeah.
I actually think that the streamer world would be a lot more united than it is now if it had been like someone else that was the victim of this level of harassment. I think like a lot of people are letting their personal bias against her. And there is a lot of bias against her.
Mm.
Like, not just like political, just like people who agree with her politically. Like, there's a lot of people who don't like her, whether it's for good reasons or bad reasons. And I think like they're letting their bias kind of compromise what normally would be like values of like don't ruin someone's career. People say stupid shit online.
Yeah, I
Um,
1
yeah,
million% agree. I was looking back at my thread that I got into a spat with DemonMama and her seemingly whole fucking community on Twitter, and I looking back at it, I may not have worded it in a perfect way, but I did say you're letting your personal like how close you are personally to this situation compromise your ability to recognize that people contacting the bar is fucking ghoulish, right? And I think that she might have taken exception to the way that I worded it. I don't remember the
yeah. I
exact
saw you
wording.
guys were fighting on Twitter. Is that bridge burn now?
Oh well, fuck. If it's burned, it's on her. I literally I sat and defended her for fucking 10 months, and said
Yeah, I
like,
remember you.
yeah, and it's like, listen, this is just like the one line that's been crossed at this point on your end in terms of like the actual drama fallout. Everything else, it's like, okay, people can criticize you if they feel like this is, childish or whatever, but I don't really criticize people for that because content, I'm not gonna, if they want to make content out of it, that's their fucking right. What I do draw the line at though is, that spilling over into the fucking real world and people having implications for someone else's career for the rest of their life. And when I pointed that out, I just immediately got fucking dogpiled. So if they want that bridge to be burned, that's literally up to them.
I don't think she's gonna burn the bridge with you. Like, I think she's mad right now in the moment.
Mhm.
The shit with her and RGR got like really personal,
Oh, sure. That I
and
super
yeah,
recognize that. Um,
yeah, because like
but
RGR was trying to spread around. I don't think I don't know if a lot of people remember this, but like RGR was like trying to get her canceled by the trans community for being transphobic. Like she was trying to spread around and get her kind of. I don't know if she was trying to get her deplatformed or something like that. Like she was doing some really shady shit to DemonMama as well. So there's like animosity to an extreme level where it's hard for me to just go to DemonMama and be like, okay, you need to be less mad, right?
sure.
Because at this point, it's like, yeah, when you really hate someone and there's just so much animosity, it's like logic is not going to be entering your brain right now.
Sure, yeah. My only thing is that when it comes to these kinds of situations, right, you have to be hyper aware of yourself and of the people associated with you, right? Especially if you have like a position of power over them, say like a streamer, that you guys don't become the thing that you are advocating against. So for instance, like there were like, I wasn't the only person that made this this connection last night, but the way that I was interacting with her community was very similar to the way that DGG seemed to be going after DemonMama, at least by like what she says, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, look, even if you feel like it sucks, there's still like standards that we have to hold as, you know, either as like content creators or as people, right? And we can't let that go to the wayside, because otherwise you're just opening yourself up to all kinds of harassment in the future, because now you're doing that same fucking thing. Like you're doing the exact thing that you were complaining about other people doing to you.
I agree.
Right? It's going to make it impossible for you to call it out in the future. So yeah,
I agree. This is one of the reasons why, like, I think and this is why it was really important for me to, like, when I was on my stream, like, I was not timid or lackluster in how much I was like trying to say that it was not cool. Like it was not cool, the harassment she gets. She does not deserve it. And we need to, like, just as a community, say that this is not cool. And even if it meant that, and it's awkward for me because a lot of my friends I'm very good friends with DemonMama, like not just like light friends, like we're very good friends. We hang out and stuff. And it's tough because you don't want to speak about, like, especially when you're a streamer, right? It's shitty to speak about another friend badly. You want to back them up, but what happens when you feel like your friend's doing something that's wrong? And it's especially tough for me because I haven't had positive interactions with RGR myself. I don't know her too well, but I had one interaction with her that just like didn't put her in a positive light in my head. And so my bias was like, if I had a bias, it was probably to want to join in the mob, because human beings like doing that intrinsically. And so it was, for me, like, it was kind of, I felt like I was like testing my moral character, I guess, like to myself. And I told myself like I needed to say like how not cool this was, and stuff like that. And yeah, hopefully that bridge is not burned. But I mean, knowing DemonMama, I don't think so. They're, even with the reputation she often gets, she's actually often really chill with her friends disagreeing with her on stuff. But like, it's just, people just took it way too far. Like I totally, I watched the debate, and I do think RGR said some really nasty stuff in that debate, right? But I also know, like, I've been in the debate world online for a long time. Like I don't really debate much on Twitch, but I used to debate a ton on Discord, and I witnessed people say the dumbest shit. Like I talked about this on stream today. People say the dumbest shit when they're trying to win a debate. In order to pass like consistency checks and stuff. I once like listened to someone falsely admit to like raping a sex worker, like, and he never did, but he did it to win a debate. And like I witnessed that kind of stuff, and I could totally see her. Like, it's hard for me to imagine that she even believed some of the shit she said in that debate. It really just felt like she wanted to win, and she was trying to be consistent, like logically consistent. And and she ended up saying silly things, but it's like, but then just say she said silly things. Like, we don't need to take it this fucking far. And if you open up that door is a scary one to open, because God knows we all say really dumb things in like debates. And this is one of the reasons why I don't use my real name. But for like all the people who use their real name, like that just starts really opening the door to like have real world consequences. Because if you can logically justify like contacting the bar, then you can logically justify letting someone's like wife know that their boyfriend is an asshole to women, or like something like that. And you could just start taking shit so far, and it's just really, really shitty.
Yeah, no, I agree. The thing that worries me is a precedent being set that if we don't like someone, then it's ollie ollie oxen free. You can do whatever you fucking want to them, right? Which is like like specifically what I took like extreme exception to with what Bosch said. Like there has to be some kind of limiting factor to any action that we have. Otherwise, we're just going to, have the most toxic goddamn community that the internet has ever seen. If we just allow fucking anything, like we have to have standards, and I do hold like left-leaning individuals to a higher standard because I'm a left-leaning individual and I respect the intelligence
Wait,
of
you're a
people.
lefty?
I don't know if I would
Oh,
consider myself a socialist or anything anymore, but
oh my god, I don't talk to lefties. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
I mean that's fine. Listen, cringe rightoids also need to have standards. All right. But yeah, like I do hold other left-leaning or leftist creators to a higher standard than I do, like gamer bros, because gamer bros, we all know, are subhuman, degen, fucking misogynist, racist people, whatever gamers are, and
Mhm.
if we all, like, I can expect that from them, while still holding them to that standard and saying, no, you ought not do this. But I expect for the people that actually think about these things, and expect from the people that um, espouse the same values as I to conduct themselves in reasonable ways,
Yeah. I just want to be clear. Someone in your chat said I was like vague posting, or like to post the receipts of my interaction with RGR. Like there's a very firm reason of why I'm not talking about that, and why I don't want to like go into what happened or anything. Because first of all, number one, it's not a big deal. It's like legit not a big deal. It's just like it's a minor situation when you first meet someone, you just don't get a good impression of them. So it's nothing that like the internet needs to know about. And second of all, it's really fucking shitty to see like a mob and just join in it. It's like I remember like just 2 weeks ago. Yeah, like if I want to address that, this is not the time to do that with RDR.
Yeah.
Um, and like 2 weeks ago when I was having like the bad empanada anti-Semitic mob on me, right? Like there were a bunch of people who I've made enemies of that I know are not anti-Semites, but they just like join him because it's like, yay, like we have someone to share hate towards. Like, it's like your enemies all gather together. And that's literally what's happening to RGR, and I wasn't gonna fucking participate in that shit. Um, and it's just like that's how you destroy someone's mental being. It's just not cool. And she did make a tweet, I think last night, um, that was really scary sounding. That I like. I don't know. I feel like everyone just needs to back off and be way more careful with how
Yeah.
they're talking to her.
I super agree. I saw the same tweet, and it's like if people are driving people to this point, right? We've obviously crossed some line, right? And that's like the
Mhm.
biggest thing that I wanted today on stream to focus on was like telling people that there's a line and that we should never fucking cross it because we're fucking smarter than that and we're fucking better than that, Um,
There needs to be like laws of war
yeah,
that we agree
exactly.
to, right? Like we're always going to be at war with each other, but this is exactly why the laws of war exist. Um, because there's degrees to which like war is already shitty, but there's degrees to which it could be a lot shittier. Like it's one thing to be shot in the chest; it's another thing to
To be
like
stabbed with a
slowly
three-sided
die of.
blade.
Yeah, exactly. So we need to do the same thing here. And in the Discord world, in the Discord debating world, there's already kind of been this establishment of like the laws of war. No matter how much you hate someone or debate someone, you never dox them, you never show pictures, you never share nudes, like things like that. And it feels like Twitch politics, because some people are like semi open with their name and their appearance, it feels like their lines are a little more shady. And that's why like communities coming together and just being saying like putting their foot down about certain behaviors needs to happen.
So what do you think is the line between, just two communities going at each other and, all out war. Or rather, how about this? What is your line for when something has gone too far? I genuinely don't know what it is for me. I just know when things have gone over that line, but I don't know exactly where the
Yeah,
line
it's like
is.
you know it when you see it.
Yeah.
The biggest thing to me is like is affecting the person's real life shit. Um, so so contacting like their family members or contacting like their job, shit like that. There are a few instances where I can think it's justifiable, but it's like you have to have so much to justify that kind of thing. Um, like I don't know, like even when I've seen people who have contacted partners that were like cheating, streamers partners that were to report them for cheating or shit like that. It's like I honestly think you should never do that shit. Like never involve yourself with that person's real life because you have no clue what they're going through. You have no clue what's going on in their real life,
Yeah.
and it should just always be a line, unless there's literally a direct danger to someone's like life, right? With or like some kind of violent act or something. Like someone's gonna go assault a kid or something. Um, but then you should be reporting it to the authorities instead.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I guess that's about the line for me. When I see people going as hard as they have been on, I mean, even going as hard as they did on DemonMama before this situation, right? It was very easy for me to condemn that, and so I don't know why it is, if it's just the personal. Well, actually, you know what? When DemonMama says it, I can understand it more than like one of her fucking chatters, right? That's where it gets really fucking confusing for me, because it seems like they don't have that personal like investment, right? They haven't been slighted unless it's just parasocial shit, which is the only thing I could think of. But
I like holy shit, Demon Mama's community really fucking loves her. And I understand why. Like people who have not talked to her don't like if you've only ever seen her in debates, like they get this totally different impression of her. But if you get to know her, I mean, even if you just watch her stream a lot, you start realizing like how smart and empathetic and kind she is. Like she really cares about people. I think like sometimes some of her dumbest takes that I've thought were silly, it's like a consequence of her having like just being caring too much about people. And but like people have blind spots, and when you're a streamer, your blind spot gets amplified and can have like hugely negative consequences. Um, so I'm hoping that when the anger kind of dissipates a bit, she can like look back and see like there was some valid criticism about how she acted with this stuff, and it's not just like GGG people or something.
mhm.
But a lot of that stuff is for me, like to talk with Demon Mama privately about. Because again, I hate the idea of shitting on friends publicly, like
Oh,
especially
sure.
when it's like useful or something. Um, but I don't know. I just like I really wish. I really, really wish that people would just like take a step back and be like, "Holy shit, we're talking about ruining someone's life because they said something dumb in a debate." Like, really?
Yeah, it's a little bit fucking wacky to me. Not gonna lie. When I see people going this hard or going this far out of their way to fuck with people, it really it really makes me feel like they don't actually care about the things that they say that they care about. Um, and they actually just care about the dunks.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I agree with what you're saying about Demon Mama. I do think that in general she does actually care about the things that she talks about. I do think that she's like a really chill person, right? I certainly I I was really fucking mad last night during the whole Twitter spat, but um, like I don't think that anyone in my community should like go after her at all, right? It's I don't feel like I need anyone to stand up for me, and I'll cool off
Mm-hmm.
eventually. But like I've always maintained that she's a very chill person interpersonally, and that she like if people didn't fuck with her so much, people would probably like her more. But yeah.
I admired you like going through your ideals in that situation. I only fully learned about the extent of the situation like last night. Like I was trying to catch up
Mm.
to Twitter and what was going on. When I see people fighting on Twitter, I'm like, why? Like even when I see DemonMama fight with people on Twitter, I message her. I'm like, why are you doing this? You got us messaging, right? Because it's like even the nights that I'm doing it, because it's just it never leads to anywhere productive.
Yeah.
Um, and it always just feels like it makes shit so much worse, especially when you're fighting with other streamers. I'm like, or like people that are within your social circle and stuff. Like that shit. No, it's always really bad. If I try to
It's
solve my
because
interpersonal conflicts, there'd be a disaster.
yeah, but like that's the thing. Like when you're on Twitter, I have a policy that I pinned to the top of my Twitter. It's like, Twitter is just for dunks because there's no. It's
Mm-hmm.
designed not to have discourse, right? It's designed not to. And if you try to have discourse on there, right, in good faith, you're never going to receive that back,
Yeah.
right? So when I when I engage on Twitter, I usually just say I fucked your mom, lol. Um, but I I fell for it last night. I did what everybody else does, and I was cringe and stupid, and I argued on
Because
the
the
internet.
emotions got you. It's
I
happened to me too.
Yeah, it was. I think it was the fact that my take was so reasonable, and I felt like they just didn't know what my position was. And it wasn't until about like 2 hours in that I realized they don't give a fuck about the position, right? They're just fucking, it's an internet hate mob.
Hmm.
And so like there's
Um,
no point in trying to argue with them because they don't want to listen.
what really scares me is, and I really, this sounds dramatic, but I really feel like it's not. Is that like you're, I don't think it's the case with Demon Mama, but in regards to both Doe and RGR, like they both struggle with depression. They've
Mm,
talked openly about it. And they both have had like suicide ideation and stuff like that. And they're both very sensitive, um, as I am, to shit online, right? To getting like a hate mob on you
mm,
online. And so it really feels like the way people are acting right now, like it really feels like there's kind of like lives at stake. And I know that no one's technically responsible for anyone like hurting themselves or something. Um, but holy shit, when you've, I don't know if you've had like the full force of the Twitter mob on you, or like when people are trying to cancel you and they're like covering your comments and shit like that. Like
mm.
it was really bad. Like when I got attacked, when I got attacked like a few weeks ago, like it put me in a mental health like place where I was like, I don't know if I have the fortitude to continue streaming, right? Like I had to really work hard to build back that armor and
Yeah.
stuff.
It's not
Yeah.
easy. This space for streamers is not easy. And some people deal with the kind of stresses in different ways. And I think that for some people that deal with it in better ways or have an easier time dealing with it, they forget that it's not the normal human experience to, have a couple of dozen people, even if it's just like 50 people, right? It feels like 1,000 when they're all coming at you. And that's not something that normally happens to people in real life. So when when I see people being okay with it, it's really weird. And I also think that chatters need to keep that in mind when they're going to bat for their favorite streamer. That hey, that like this is another fucking human being, you know?
Yeah. I think your mod internet gas said Doe constantly puts itself in situations like that. Like if I could agree with that, but so does RGR, right? Like RGR like came back from her break super combative, super abrasive, wanting to debate, wanting to burn bridges. Like that's always kind of been her thing. But like me saying that doesn't justify the abuse and shit that she gets. There's always like things that we put ourselves like Like you could say that about like anyone. Like if I, it's like if all the anti-Semitic shit that I was getting the last few weeks, it's like, why did you be dumb enough? Why was I dumb enough to be like Jewish and online and go stream and talk about Israel? Like, why did I do that? Like I was just asking for it. Like, it's just, it's just so silly to say that like we put ourselves in like these situations. Like it applies to almost everyone. And I mean, unless this is what we want the space to be, then I don't think it's chill to say that.
Yeah. I I don't want to sit here and shit on anyone in particular. I really don't have any hate for any of the individuals in the drama, right? I don't have any individual hate for them. I think Doe now greatly dislikes me based off of the fact that uh that I was blocked on Twitter, right? But
Well, you done fucked up.
I done fucked up. I asked people not to ruin a career. But
Hello?
yeah, sorry. I was just getting my train of thought back. I don't have any hate in my heart for any of them, and I don't have any bad blood really with any of them. Um, how do you think people should go forward trying to interact with these people if they've had, if they've argued with them on this point specifically? Because I know that there are other people that have gotten blocked or gotten, part of the mob after them for essentially doing the exact same thing that I did, saying the same thing.
I have no fucking clue. Honestly, like this is something that I was debating when I was saying, like, how do I want to talk about this on stream? Um, and like how do I talk about it responsibly, but also not break my values and all of that kind of stuff. And it's really tough. Like in this situation, like I have, oh my God, I'm gonna sound like Trump here. I have friends on both sides. And I have like it's super awkward, and like this is like affect like even in my friend group, like they're like everyone's fighting, everyone's at war, like over this, and it's become like the issue that people are where they're like laying their sword down and stuff. Um, so I feel like if anything, people can kind of just instead of arguing about the particulars of who's more correct in the situation, just say like, okay, like no, like the level at which people have taken it was too far. Like I think when I saw comments on Twitter saying things like, "Oh, I disagreed with RGR in that debate, but the way people are treating her is not cool," or "I disagreed with RGR. RGR was wrong about this, but contacting the bar is not cool." I think that kind of language is also like really helpful because that kind of creates a bit of a bridge. But I don't know, like emotions are running high on with a lot of the people that are upset with her, and I understand why those emotions are high. I think they have valid reasons to be angry, but that doesn't mean the actions are valid. So I don't know, like my instinct just tells me it's just time, but um that's easy for me to say when I'm not the one getting harassed in this situation, right?
Um, do you think that this is just an extension of like, this is like slightly off topic. Do you think that this is just an extension of like the Vosh and Destiny drama?
Oh yeah.
I think so too, because
Yeah, I know people are
the
saying this is
people
like
are.
Cold War. I mean, it's not very cold, right?
It's not.
But
No, it's like the Korean War of
yeah.
VGG versus DGG. Like, Sam the Human made that joke, and it's like, yeah, actually, you know what? Yeah, I think you're right, buddy. Like, this is like unbelievable how identical the the factions here are. Like all the people that you would expect align with RGR. All the people that you would expect are aligning with
Mhm.
DemonMama, right? And it's just you know uh, aggravating. Like, for lack of a better term, I don't have any other better way to say.
Well, yeah, it's
But
like people are not thinking they're not being fair according to their own like morality. They're just playing team sports. and there's like Vosh's team and there's Destiny's team, and you need to pick a team, right?
Yeah.
And this is just an extension of that, even though these are like, I mean, it's like two different people or different people that are like separate, but they're just being defined, I guess, by I don't know, like, because I saw some of the shit I saw, like even some of DGG getting like the like DGG is like really passionate right now against harassment, and I totally agree with them on this. I wish they were as fair with DemonMama on that end, right? And then
Yeah.
there's like and even with and Destiny, what's interesting is Destiny's not spoken about this. Like he hasn't really shared his opinion, and I have a feeling I know why he hasn't. Right.
Yeah.
And because I actually have a feeling that he doesn't really side with RGR in terms of the debate. I'm sure he sides with her on the extent of which she's getting harassed. Like, of course, like everyone should side with her on that. But I have a feeling he disagrees with her, especially on some of like the the claims that she was making about like the feet thing and all of that kind of stuff. Especially
Yeah.
I know because he's much more lax with sex stuff than I am. Because I actually am closer to RGR like ideologically with like hating pedos and being really strict with shit like that. And I know he's a little more. I'm not going to say he's lax with pedo, but he's like more lax with sex in general. Like he's more open.
I'm so sorry. Can you say that last sentence again?
Oh, he's more like lax with like sexual stuff in general. Like he
Yeah.
doesn't always see it as he's not as conservative sexually as like RGR seems to be, and I am. Like I end up being a lot more ideologically aligned with her there. But we come to different conclusions.
Yeah. I'm largely agnostic on the actual argument. Like I don't really know how I feel because on one hand, I don't think that there's an objective way to decide where the line is, right?
Mm-hmm.
On what sorts of things are an acceptable level of sexualization in public. I just don't think that there's any objective way to come to a conclusion.
Wait, what was the thing you put on screen there?
It was Destiny's logs for.
Can I read that? I haven't even seen it.
Yeah, here I will open it back up. Well, fuck this game. Does weird stuff to my mouse.
Was I right? Was my
oh my
prediction
girl,
correct?
God, this RGR convo. Oh no.
Hey, that's pretty nice.
RGR fucked up really hard, yeah. I
Yeah.
was right. Yeah, that makes sense with what I know about him. So I think it just in general, I honestly respect him for saying that, like, because it's probably was tempting for him to say that he agreed with her ideologically there just to get another dunk on Doe or DemonMama. But he stuck true to his relative moral framework or whatever he calls it.
Yeah, it's I couldn't get behind the arguments that she actually had in that one. When it comes to like the gender discourse, I much more understand where she's coming from there, but when it comes to like the kink at pride or like sexuality in public, I number one don't really care about that stuff in the first place. It just doesn't seem like that big of an issue in the real world. And then, like past that, it's like, there's sometimes, people are going to do it in the first place, like.
Well, yeah, and it has such problematic consequences. Like, is anyone like participating in some form of like sexual assault, violating people's consent when they secretly put one of those like secret vibrators in their vagina and like go to dinner? Like people do that shit all the time.
Yeah,
so,
like there's just like, if it doesn't hurt anybody in general, I'm pretty okay with it. I feel like they were both trying to force it into the pedophilia argument, which I don't think that RGR should have gotten into. That was her undoing, trying to argue about that with Doe.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I don't know Doe at all. I've only heard about Doe like from DemonMama.
Mhm.
And I sent like my well wishes when it like attempted to hurt itself. Sorry, I'm still trying to get used to the it thing. But uh but yeah, I was that was my first impression of it. I thought it did pretty well in like in that debate.
Oh yeah,
Like,
no, I mean, both in the argument and, you know, optically, I think Doe came off significantly better than RGR. Um, so like W to Doe
yeah,
there.
I was
That's
actually
like,
I was fairly impressed. Right.
uh-oh, what are people linking me? 1 second. Oh, fuck off. Okay, stop. I thought it was
What was
relevant.
it?
It was just here, I'll just send it to you in DMs. I don't know how to describe it. Like it's just it's a picture. It certainly is. Kind of topical, but
Oh.
let me see. I'm trying to see if there's any questions that they said in chat, but
I like that Samantha's already getting in trouble in your chat.
um I don't know. Any other thoughts? Anything else that you think needs to be said on this? Because I didn't see what your stream was earlier. I don't know what like your overall takeaways were.
Watch my entire stream.
I didn't watch any of it. I'm sorry.
What? Not any of it?
I wasn't able to. I'm sorry. Look, I'll make the next one. Okay.
No, it's fine. I'm just putting you on a list. It's
Look,
okay.
listen. I'll do this. I'll make it up to you. I'll open it up in 3 browsers at once. All right.
Oh shit! So I get like 3 views.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. See, this is why I love being friends with streamers because I know exactly how to make you happy. Right? I'll do the same with you. Okay.
Nice.
That's the
Gaming the system.
yeah. No, exactly. I'll do like it 100 times.
Yeah. Well,
Via
are
each
there
one.
100 browsers that you could choose from?
I'll find a way. But I don't know. Like I feel like the world's gone a little crazy, and it's a little scary. I think if anything, it's a lesson to streamers or people who want to be public figures not to use your real name in your bio and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a good idea. I don't. I understand why Dylan does it because he's like getting into politics stuff. I still don't think it's a good idea that he does it. I don't think it's a good idea whenever anyone does it. Because I think like it gives people like a false impression, um, like you're using Twitch to promote your real life stuff, so then it's going to start feeling connected, and that's how people can justify it. It doesn't justify it, but I still think it's not a smart idea. And yeah, I feel bad for what she's going through, and I hope she's safe and I hope she's okay. And yeah, I think that's it. Unless you have any specific questions.
I don't. Anything interesting in the world that you want to talk about? I don't want to keep you too long unless you want to unless you're just down to chat.
Anything interesting in the world? Um, I've been playing a lot of Age of Empires lately.
Oh yeah, have you?
Yeah, yeah.
You're warming up?
Yeah. Wait, am I warming up for what?
Warming up for oh, did you not you must not have heard. I've actually challenged you to Age of Empires. I thought that you knew.
No, I didn't know. I didn't know think that you'd be so, you know, low IQ to attempt to try to beat
Oh,
me.
low IQ. Okay,
So
I see how it is. All right. See, I don't need a high IQ to beat you in Age of Empires. All I need are my gamer
that's really mean.
reflexes. All right. I could have a room temperature IQ. All right. But when I have those gamer reflexes, when I have those APMs to the level that I need them at, all right, it doesn't fucking
See, if
matter
you knew
how
anything
smart
about
I
Age of
am.
Empires, you know that you don't need a high APM to do well.
Hey,
Okay?
you don't need it one, but when I do have one, you're fucking done for. I'm gonna wipe the floor with you, okay? It doesn't fucking matter if I don't
Have
need
you
it.
played the
I'm
other
gonna have
Age
it.
of Empires?
I played
Like, I
AoE
come
3.
with like history of the franchise.
I played Age of Mythology all my entire
Okay, of course you're an
childhood.
Age of Mythology
All
person.
right, and then I
I'm
picked
just
up
saying
Age of
that's kind of
Empires.
like no, that's the softy. That's the softy one, like version.
Oh,
You know, and
why
there
is it
was
the
no
softy
competitive
one?
scene because there was no competitive scene around Age of Mythology. Like no one was a hardcore gamer. No one was sweating playing like Age of Empires, sorry, Age of Mythology. But people were sweating playing Age of Empires 2 and 3. Like they were sweating.
Well, that's
Were you
because
sweating?
look, a bunch of fucking neckbeards in their mom's basements sweating over a game is nothing new to me. All right, there's nothing
What you're
new.
saying is very offensive to the entire gaming community.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry to the gamers. Are we scared about what the gamers are going to do to us when
They're
we're
the most
bigoted?
oppressed class. Like I don't think it's cool to attack them
Hey, listen,
when there's yeah.
I'm okay with bigotry in this sense. Okay, it's self bigotry, so it doesn't count. It's like I have the G word pass, right? The only we can use. Wait, no, there is a G word
No,
that
there's
people argue about. Like a real fuck. Every word that I think of, I thought of Nintendo and gamer, but like N word or G word don't really feel good in this
okay. Have you
situation.
ever lost a relationship over your gaming addiction?
No,
Yeah,
gaming's
so you're
never.
not a pro gamer.
Yeah, well,
Like I have
listen, I
nothing to
didn't say
worry
I was a
about.
pro gamer. Oh, look, do you have to like be like in the big leagues to be like any other
No, it
oppressed
has to have
class?
severely affected your life, right?
Oh,
Like
so Michael
your partner
Jordan's
was like,
kids
"I need
aren't
to have
black.
sex right now," and you're like, "Sorry, I'm gaming." Like
Listen,
that needs to happen.
are you telling me that like Barack Obama or Michael Jordan's kids aren't black because they don't have the same oppression?
Well, no one's oppressed like gamers are. So,
I mean,
I
fair
mean, if they're not
point.
gamers, then I no, like I'm really good at I don't know if I'm really good at Age of Empires 4, but I'm definitely really, really good at Age of Empires 3. Like I played it in like the competitive scene and stuff for a while, and I was even on I was even on teams because that game was like really big um in South America and India. Um, and so like I played that for a while, and I haven't looked up too many strategies for Age of Empires 4, but like I'm still kind of playing with some like the same basics, and it seems to be working out so far in Age of Empires 4. So I think I'm still gonna wipe the floor with you. So
I'm not concerned whatsoever. Let me tell you, I know that I'm not at pro gamer level yet. I just beat yesterday in Discord Sam the Human. He can attest to that if he's in chat. I absolutely wiped the floor with him. It was like no contest. He
yeah,
didn't
because
even get out of the second out.
Sam's not very good at Age of Empires
Yeah,
4. I'm sorry.
he didn't
You
get
know?
out of the second age. Okay, so like it's not even a
Oh, you
fucking problem.
rushed him.
Oh, I
So
fucking
you know
rushed.
what?
I
I pegged you for the
ruined him.
rushing type.
Oh no, I
Does
played as the British
wait, does your girlfriend know you have a girlfriend, right? Like is she a fiance, girlfriend,
girlfriend.
wife? Okay. Does your girlfriend know that you're a rusher?
Listen, she doesn't need to know.
Does she
Okay,
know that that's your strategy?
she doesn't need to know.
Because she would question your masculinity there. You
Oh,
know?
so that's a less masculine thing. So the people that sit there and turtle all fucking day, those are the real men? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm not saying going full end game, right? But like at least like mid game. The people who rush, like the in Age of Empires 3, like the meta of rushing was you would play the Ottomans. And like rushing almost never worked against someone who like knew what they were doing. Um, and by the time you fail the rush, like you're fucked because you're literally like the Ottomans in Age of Empires 3. Like you can't do anything. So I
Oh.
what Civ do you play right now?
I've been playing the British in AoE 4 because I like to get a lot of food very fast. Get a whole bunch of fucking villagers.
You know what I miss? And okay, I sound like such a boomer when I say this, but in Age of Empires 3, they had like the voices for all like the biggest um the most famous leaders of each civ. So for the British, they had like Queen Elizabeth. For Spain, they had Queen Isabella. And they all had like their own like little personalities, and I really miss that. Like I miss being yelled at by like Queen Elizabeth.
Did
Did you ever play Age of Empires 3?
I played Age of Empires 3, but I didn't have the voices on because I actually don't know why. I played a lot of Age of Empires 3 on stream. Did you ever play Civilization, Civ 5?
Okay, no. And the reason why I hate turn-based games, I'm like, it just doesn't feel intense enough. I can't play anything that's turn-based unless it's like a real board game.
Oh, that's fucking lame. But I understand. I don't like any card game. All card games are fucking cringe.
No,
So-
wait, any card game?
All card games.
Even like Fish? Like Go Fish?
I'm not gonna lie, I don't even remember how to play that game. I don't know what that
So
game
much fun.
Dude, wait, is it really fun? Because I remember even as
Yeah.
a kid playing it and being incredibly fucking bored.
I
It was
think
like
it's-
the actual worst fucking case scenario. If someone's like, "Do you want to play Go Fish?" It's like, "Oh shit, we're at that level. Is that where we're at right now? There's literally nothing else to do. We're gonna sit there in silence and just like grab cards. There's no stakes. There's no win condition. I don't think."
I grew up on card games because in Judaism, every Saturday you're not allowed. It's the Sabbath, so you're not allowed to be doing anything like with technology. So you can't watch TV, you can't be on your computer, you can't be on your phone. So like card games are like the meta, like they're like the Sabbath meta amongst the cool kids. So you like find the other cool kids in the neighborhood, and then you sit down, you play card games, and yeah, and you make bets that you can't afford. It's really fun.
And what happens when you don't pay the debts?
I don't know. They send like the Jewish mafia after you or something.
Oh shit! Oh fuck! Here we go. Yeah, no,
Yeah, that shit is scary. That shit is scary. Like it's legit and it's terrifying.
I
They
what are they?
actually, you know,
I don't know if you're
I
being
could swear
serious
that,
now
like,
because I am not a Jew, so I don't know if you're
You're
joking
not
or not.
Jewish?
I'm
No,
not.
I'm not joking. Okay, there's like it almost it sounds anti-Semitic, but it's not. There's like this group within in Orthodox Jewish circles, like whether usually there's a large Orthodox Jewish communities in like big cities, so like London, New York, Toronto, etc., Montreal, and each city often has like this kind of like we call it like the Jewish mafia because like I don't even know what else to call it, but it's like these like religious tough guys that the rabbis go to get shit done. And so
Okay.
there's this huge problem. There's this huge problem in Orthodox Judaism where a woman can't get a divorce without the permission of her husband,
Mhm.
right? Just a tad sexist. And it causes problems, especially when, like, you know, it's an abusive relationship or like the husband's like doing something awful or the husband, what they consider the worst is when the husband's like doing something non-Jewish, like eating pork or something.
Mhm.
Right? Because then it's like, oh, you need a divorce. That's really bad. But you can't legally get the divorce. So the rabbis can't like literally orchestrate the divorce. They're not allowed to, even if they want to. So what they do, what is that face? Okay, and so what they do is they'll like hire, and this is only done in like certain circles, but they'll hire like the Jewish mafia, like these tough guys, to go beat up the husband and like torture him. Like this shit happened in New York where they like were like pulling out like the nails and like torturing him until like the husband agreed to the divorce
God.
so that they could get like the
fuck.
legal Jewish legal dispensation, shit like that.
Holy fucking shit. Well, I was raised in a Methodist family and my dad was a pastor. There is no Methodist mafia, so I can't. There's nothing as
There's
cool
no
as
Methodist
that.
mafia.
There's no
You know
Methodist
why?
mafia because
Christians
it's
are
all
not as
white.
fun. No, okay.
Oh.
Methodists are not fun
They're
in
not-
general because they're not fun like that because you guys like for you it's all about like the spirit of Allah. It's all about like faith and you know and feelings and stuff. But with Jewish law, it's literally about like the letter. So if you can find a way to get around like the letter of Allah, you can, they'll find a way to do it. That's why Jews make good lawyers, because it's
Oh.
like a part of our culture to learn how to
You
get around
find
laws.
the loopholes in God's law so that you can, do fun things, right?
Yeah, exactly. Because it's like they'll be like, well, it never says in the Talmud that
Wait.
we can't torture the husband until he agrees to the divorce.
What is your favorite Jewish loophole? I gotta know what Eris's favorite Jewish loophole is.
There's so many.
I'm
Oh my God,
sure.
that's such a good question. Okay, my favorite Jewish loophole. God, there's so many. There are a lot of fun ones to do with sex. So like there are like these rules. There are very strict sex rules. Like the husband has to have sex with his wife every Friday, unless she's in her unclean period, which means like her period. But I don't know, is there like a, what I would say is like my favorite loophole is when, and we would do this all the time as kids, like where we really wanted to watch TV on Saturday, and again, you're not allowed to watch TV.
That's where the cartoons are, though, like Saturday
Yeah.
morning cartoons.
Yeah, it sucked, right? Like I wanted to watch that shit. So what you do is you tell like the little kids who haven't reached 4 years old, they can break these rules without any consequence. So, but you can't literally tell them to turn on the TV because otherwise you're in trouble. So what you do is you just start like hinting things, and you're totally allowed to do this, where you could just be like,
Oh man,
if
my
only-"
favorite show is Home Improvement. It looks like it's about
Yeah.
time for Home Improvement. Man, I just
That's
saw
what,
that.
that's what they do with Shabbos goys. Have you heard that term before?
No.
It's when you keep like a non-Jewish person around to do all the stuff you're not allowed to on the Sabbath. So he'll be like, hey, like if only my lights were on right now, like that kind of stuff.
That's a thing?
Oh yeah. But you've never heard the term, do you want to be my Shabbos goy?
How much does it pay?
You actually do get paid like I'm not going to say it's a good amount, but I'd say it's like fair. I'll pay you like $50 a Saturday.
Hey, you know what? That's not that bad. You know what? I might take you up on that. If all I'm doing is flipping up light switches and shit, I'll do it for $50 a Saturday.
You have to be
easy
really
fucking
good at
money.
getting like subtle cues, right?
Of
Like if I'm
course.
like, oh, it's getting really chilly, you got to turn. What do you have to do? You have to turn
Listen,
on
we've
the
already
heat.
talked about how I'm not that much of a gamer, all right? I'm not too autistic to understand subtle cues, all right? Social cues are something that I'm great at, all right? I'm not that oppressed. So, like, hey, you know what? I'm going to actually, the lefty that I am, all right? I'm going to argue for my labor, all right? I'm going to argue for my labor. I'm going to say, let's make it $75 a day, right? Every fucking Saturday, I come over, I turn on your fucking lights, all right? I eat, like whatever fucking food you cook. Wait, are you allowed to cook on the Sabbath?
No, you can't.
Oh, so I would be cooking.
Normally what people do is they do slow cooking. That's another loophole. So you kind of put it in like a slow cook. What do you call one of those slow cooker
Crock pot,
things?
yeah.
A crock pot or something, and you put it on before the Sabbath begins, like Friday evening, and then you eat it Saturday morning, and then it's totally fine.
Hey,
As long as you're not like touching any buttons. People use timers for lights too, so eventually
the
you
buttons?
might kind of might be getting out of a job. You might be automated out of a job eventually, because people are really starting to get into using timers and like technology for it. Because as long as you program the technology before, it's fine.
okay. You can't press buttons.
No. You can't play guitar either. That one always upset me.
You can't play guitar. It's because
Because you're creating music. You're not supposed to create anything. Like, you're not supposed to work. Like, yeah. Can't do any of that.
Okay, it sounds like there's way fewer things that you can do than you can't do. What can you do?
You could play cards.
I guess so. It sounds like that's all you can do. Okay, do you like what the
Yeah, you play cards. You hang out in like the jungle gym. You sleep. Like
What if you
people like sleeping.
what
They
if
usually
you
sleep.
go to
day.
someone's house and you have to ring the doorbell?
You can't. No, you do not ring the doorbell on the Sabbath. Oh no, you are. If that happens to you, you are like basically going to be shamed out of the community. Like if you do that.
I don't know if you're memeing right now.
No, I'm serious. I'm serious. Like that's really bad. Like do not ring the doorbell. If your phone rings, that's really bad. Like even though you're not technically breaking the rules, there's like a stigma, right? Like, ugh. I'm just like I'm getting social anxiety just thinking about ringing the
Wait,
doorbell.
what if? So is there a loophole with touching a screen?
No, touching a screen would be considered a button. Yeah. I something that always confused me was why I was allowed to flush the toilet. Because you can flush the toilet.
Well, that's a lever, not
and
a
I
button.
don't understand like why you're allowed to press that button.
Wait, and some of them do have buttons. Oh fuck!
They would never get one with like a electric button. I think the rabbi somehow allowed it because of something to do with plumbing or something. I'm not really sure about the details. It's like a whole thing. But yeah, you're not. But you're allowed to do that. Some Jews actually take it to extreme. You can't rip up the toilet paper. So if you ever go to synagogue and you see that the toilet paper is ripped up for you, like on the side and like these little squares.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why.
This is actually so fucking interesting. Holy shit! I'm sorry. I'm gonna delve deep into here. What the? So I have a long time ago. I went to fuck. Where was this? I don't even remember what the context was, but the place was owned by a Muslim man, and I didn't know that they weren't allowed to use like toilet paper, and that men sat down to pee because bodily fluids are like extra haram.
Well, yeah, they have really strict cleanliness rules. That's one of the reasons why a lot of Muslim people don't have dogs. And it's actually Orthodox Jews are the same. They often don't have dogs because there's all these like cleanliness rules with dogs, and it just makes it like a headache to have one because you have to be constantly washing your hands and doing prayers and shit.
I didn't know about that. Yeah, I just know that when I went into the bathroom, and there was no toilet paper, and I had to figure out how to use a what do you call it? A bidet for the first time. And it was,
oh god, bidets are amazing.
It was, I mean, I wasn't super impressed. Like in that moment, I was under duress.
Oh, it's because it's the handheld bidet, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, those are bad.
I was trying to figure it out in the moment.
Arab world. Yeah, in the Arab world, everyone has that.
Yeah, that shit was not what I was expecting, and when I like left, I got the full explanation. So you're not even allowed to rip up toilet paper.
Yeah, only some people practice that, not everyone. The family, like my family didn't practice that one. We were allowed to rip up the toilet paper. I think that it's a big debate about amongst rabbis. This is what they spend their time doing.
Wait a second. So what are like the things that your family didn't practice? If toilet paper ripping was something that was like too far, what is like the...
Well, I'll give you an example is that I was allowed to play with Barbies. So, and a lot of other Orthodox like girls weren't allowed to play with Barbies. And I say girls
on the Sabbath,
like, the
or just in general?
No, in general.
Okay.
Like and the reason why is because there was a danger of potentially taking the clothes off the Barbie and the child seeing the Barbie without clothes.
Okay.
But I was allowed to play with Barbies.
But even if you're a girl?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The idea of a boy playing with Barbies in that community, like, it is so far, I can't even imagine.
Like, so that wasn't even up for consideration. There's no reason to worry about it because it wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, I'm trying to think. Like, there's a lot of things in, like, Catholicism that are much different than, you know, Protestantism, or at least Baptists or Methodist churches that I didn't know about until I was like in high school. right? And then hearing this, I didn't know the extent of the restrictions. That's
Oh yeah,
unfucking
Jews are very
believable.
insular, so a lot of people they don't talk about it that often. But
I almost
not
went
a
to a
crazy
bar
thing.
mitzvah when I was in middle school, but I wasn't able to go that weekend, so I missed out on my one chance to learn about the
You've
culture.
never been to a bar mitzvah?
I got invited. I wasn't able to go.
Okay, if I ever have a kid with like a bar mitzvah, I'll invite you just so you could see.
Do I get to pick them up in the chair? Or is that like reserved for specific people to pick the...
No, any able-bodied like man usually does it.
But you don't do that on the Sabbath, right?
No, it would never be on the Sabbath.
Got it.
So you would never have a bat mitzvah on the Sabbath. Like it would be like at night. Like Saturday night. That's the most common once the Sabbath ends in like the, early to late evening, and then you have the party or on like a Sunday night or something.
Does the Sabbath end when the sun goes down?
Yeah, that's
okay.
it.
It's
it
sun up to
enters
sundown.
Yeah, it's sun.
Okay.
It's sundown to sundown. Yeah. And then there's like a ceremony when it goes away and stuff. But honestly, I make it sound so boring and so terrible because you can't do all these things. But I'm telling you, my best memories of when I was Orthodox are always on the Sabbath. Like that's the one thing I miss. Like I don't miss the sexism. I don't miss the thinking that God cares more about whether or not you eat milk and meat over whether or not you're a good person. Like there's shit like that I do not miss, but I do miss the Sabbath because there was like I don't know, like it was just so much. It was imagine every week, once a week there's a huge holiday. Like Christmas is every Friday and you get dressed up and the whole week is kind of like about looking forward to that holiday. And so like Thursday night, all the women are grocery shopping because there's gender roles,
of course,
and preparing these big meals. And you're gonna have a feast on Friday night. It's gonna be huge. You're gonna wear your best. You're probably gonna go shopping for some really nice clothes. You're gonna get your hair done. You're gonna it's just like super exciting. You're gonna have your family come down, and it's every Friday night. And then no one drives or anything. Everyone's spending time with each other. No one's on their computer. It's just, I don't know. It's like, it's really fun. There's always like this feeling of it feeling really special. And now Saturdays feel so blah.
Well, you just said something that's interesting because I was under the impression when you said no, you don't ring the doorbell on the Sabbath. I figured you couldn't have friends or family over. But
Oh no, you do. That's people always gather on the Sabbath. They walk. And it's one of the reasons why religious Jews always live in tight communities because you can't drive on that day. So you usually walk to it.
How do you?
You don't ring the doorbell. You knock.
Okay, I was about to say, can you knock? I was about to say oh shit, you just gotta throw stones at the window until someone notices.
No, I don't think you. Actually, I think throwing stones might be considered unkosher. Because you might potentially break something in the door, and then that would be considered not
Wait,
okay.
what would break the door? So sorry.
If you threw like a stone at someone's window, it could potentially break the window or something. Anything that has the potential to cause damage and stuff, you're not allowed to do. It's one of the reasons why you're not allowed to drive. It's because it's the fear that you might do something to one of the tires and stuff.
Okay, I'm so sorry. I'm slightly inebriated at this point, but I'm actually genuinely curious. I've never heard this stuff before, and it's super interesting. What exactly are the restrictions? What are the stated restrictions? You're not supposed to break anything or work?
Okay, the big thing is Saturday it comes from that original passage in the Bible where it said God worked for 6 days and then on the 7th day he rested.
Yes.
So the 7th day is the day of rest, which is for us it's Friday nights and Saturday. So it's all about not working and resting. And so all of these rules developed around that. And then rules developed around to create a fence so you didn't break the really core ones. And then rules developed around the fence that are another fence. And eventually it's this cycle of fence laws that are really not the core reason why you weren't allowed to do that. And that's why a lot of like Jews that are not as religious, or not as Orthodox, they still practice the Sabbath, but they don't practice it with all those fucking like fence laws around it. But I was raised in a very strict, in an Orthodox world where it's very strict. So you're not allowed, for example, to play the guitar because guitars technically work. Like you're like, you know, like you're putting your body to work, I guess. And I don't understand how it's different than walking, but apparently it is.
I do know that in the Bible, fuck, I'm trying to think. There's the thing that the Pharisees used to arrest Jesus in the New Testament was that he picked a plum or a fig on the Sabbath, and they used that as like the probable cause to arrest him. Do I have that wrong, or
No, that makes sense. Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's something like that. It's very like, it's very rules based. The driving thing, I remember it was because of like the fear of like the car braking potential. Oh, riding a bike. I remember you can't ride a bike, and I remember thinking, oh, but that's not electricity. Like, why is that an issue? But yeah, it's the fear that like it's a fence law around like if the bike breaks down, then you'd have to do something about it. So there are like tons of these fence laws that are meant to like protect you immensely. There's like other stuff that's not. I'm sure you're probably not familiar with like period laws and hygiene laws and stuff with Judaism.
I am not, but I'm interested. Like the more that you say, I'm just like sitting here listening. I'm super invested in this at this point.
Well, the big thing about Orthodox Judaism is everything in your life is structured. Like, it's very similar to very religious Islam, or maybe even like being like a, what do you call it? Like Amish or something in Christianity, where like you wake up in the morning, everything's structured. Like from the moment you wake up, from how you shower, from how you wash your hands, to how you eat, to what you eat, to who you interact with, to how you interact with someone. Like there are rules on how you speak to someone. Like there's a huge law called Lashon Hara, which means the evil tongue. So you can never speak badly about someone behind their back. Sounds like a great rule, right? But it causes problems because people take it really literally. So if you want to say like, let your friend know that your husband's beating you, you can't, right? It's considered Lashon Hara. It's like the evil tongue.
Fuck.
So there's like ways, so people always have to find ways to get around things like that. There's
it's kind of like a Southerner saying bless your heart, you know, oh bless your little heart, you know, they're actually saying like, you stupid piece of shit. Is it something like that?
Yeah, so if you see like a bunch of Orthodox Jewish women gossiping, they're like all speaking in like these weird like half truths to get around the law, right? Because they can't literally talk badly about someone. It's like, oh, I think she's just going through something really bad right now, and it must be very bad. Like things like that, you know.
Well, what would that mean?
That would probably, if you were just wanting to shit talk someone for being like mean to you at a grocery store, or like, you know, pushed ahead of you when you're trying to get your kosher food.
I gotcha. Your
Something
kosher,
simple like
specifically the kosher food.
Yeah, of course. So the hygiene laws are really interesting because you actually, as a kid, you don't, and a lot of Jews don't even know these exist because you often only learn about it during husband and wife classes. So like around the time when you're 16, 17, you start taking husband and wife classes, because by 18, you're, as a girl, you're probably going to get married off. And boys usually get married around 21, 22. So there's a long reason why. But
what
so you take
do you
like
learn in that?
Well, you learn wife classes, and some of them are like, some of the stuff is good, right? Like some of it is like, hey, you know, when your husband's had a really bad day, like make sure to ask him how he is and cook him a nice meal and like all of this kind of stuff, right? And the husband classes are often like about how to be a good husband, etc. Like, I mean, in general, people should probably go to classes to learn how to be a partner. I think it's a good idea, right? But
Not the worst
but then they
idea,
also
but-
teach you about sex because they've assumed that you do not know anything about sex up to this point. Like you do
At
not
what
know
age do
how
you take
pregnancy works. You don't know what like boys probably don't even know periods exist.
Wait, at what age do you start this class?
Around 16.
Oh, 16. Well, to be fair, most 16-year-old boys don't know anything about periods, okay? So...
Oh, but yeah, to answer the fuzz leap in your chat, I didn't grow up Hasidic. Though I did grow up in a similar community with other people who are Hasids, but it was a different Orthodox sect. But they're kind of similar. So yeah, so you learn this whole structure, and one of the things you learn are I know it all by the Yiddish terms, but so I'm trying to think of the English term, but it's like they're like hygiene laws. So when you're on your period as a woman, and they do not have any flexible sense of gender identity. Like, just so you know, like in that world, women get periods and men don't, and that's how it is. If you like, when you're on your period, you are considered dirty. Like you are unclean.
Yeah, I've read some of the stuff from Leviticus a long time ago. Some of those rules are unfucking believable.
Yeah.
So the community grew up and they took all of that literally and acted on it.
So this wasn't the community I grew up in. I actually grew up. My parents themselves both come from Orthodox families. Sorry, my mom comes from an Orthodox family, but they themselves are very modern. I went to a very religious school, and they probably shouldn't have sent me to that. And I always felt really insecure about my Judaism because I was mixed race. And so I think like I ended up kind of like rebelling against my parents and trying to, I don't know. I was trying to like prove that I was like still a good Jew. I think that's like what I probably justified it to myself. And I rebelled against them, and I ran away to go live with my family, my very religious family in New York, like when I was a teenager. So that's kind of how I lived this lifestyle, but it wasn't a super long time. But yeah, anyways, and that's why I know about wife classes, because all my friends, like my entire friend group, went to them and stuff. So in these wife classes, you learn that you're dirty during your period, and because of that, no one can touch you, and your husband, who is the holiest person in your life, can definitely not touch you because you would make him dirty in that moment. And so there are all these laws about making sure he doesn't touch you. So you have to sleep in a separate room, or a separate bed, depending on how strict you are. You can't pass the salt to one another. You always have to pass it indirectly to someone else, or like put it down on the table. He definitely can't expect you to have sex with him. That's not happening. And when normally he probably could. But then there's a week before you're going on your period, and then there's a week after that you're not. All these rules apply to. So basically, like almost 3 weeks out of the month, your husband can't touch you. You can't you can't have sex or anything. Yeah. It's just in case your period lasts a little longer, or it comes a little earlier, and you have to. And at the end of your dirty period, you have to go to the mikveh, and which is like this. Sorry, I said the Yiddish word. Which is like, it's like a ritual holy bath, and you get super cleansed, right? It's actually really fun because it's like the spa. But then someone like puts this. They do like this weird prayer on you and stuff, and then you're clean, and then you can go back to and your husband can fuck you again.
Does someone else bathe you, or is it a...
No, okay, you usually, like, you're bathing yourself, but usually there's like a helper that's kind of like there to be watching you, guiding you, making sure that everything's kosher, because it's very strict on how you bathe yourself.
I'm so sorry. I'm gonna keep going like layers deep. What does it mean, like, to kosher bathe yourself?
Oh, it's because there's just strict rules on like on which side you bathe first. And these are all like old rules that go back to make sure that you really clean yourself properly.
What side do you bathe on first?
So, like, I think you start with the left first, then you go right. There's like this whole ritual of how you do it, and then there's this whole ritual when you do your hair. Make sure to clean under all your fingernails.
That's so
in Islam, it's actually very
wild.
similar. There's a very similar amount of cleanliness rules that, like, which is why in Islamic countries they're very like hygiene obsessed, because it's very similar.
That's so fucking interesting. I mean, like, it's absolutely fucking terrible for the woman, like, just not being able to fucking just take a bath. But, like,
You know
also,
what's crazy? I thought it was terrible. But all my friends in this community, they fucking love it. Okay? Like, they love it, and they love the structure. Like, one of my friends, she told me, she's like, Eris, you don't understand. Okay? Like, the 3 weeks, it sounds really bad because your husband can't have sex with you. But, like, the 2 weeks that you have, the
but,
1.5
like,
to
he's
2
not
weeks
that
that
great
you
at it in
have,
the first place. So, like, fuck it. It's what a blessing from the
they don't have
Lord.
a notion. They do not have a notion of what's good sex. Trust me. Like, they're just, but they're like, but the week or 2 weeks that he can touch you, like, it's amazing. Like, the sexual energy is electrifying. It's like having like a long distance relationship, and then you're together for like 1 week, and it's like you're fucking constantly. That's how they put out so many babies.
I mean, I understand it, I guess, a little bit there. If there's like constant tension in how far
Like,
you
you're
have to
looking, just
be.
imagine, like, you want to touch your girlfriend, but you can't. And she wants to touch you, but you can't. Right? So you have to look at each other from far away across the room. Like, over time it builds up.
God damn. Okay, someone said something and I timed them out for it earlier, but I'm genuinely asking. Don't know if this is a meme or not. Is the fucking through a sheet thing a real thing, or is that just like anti-Semitic shit?
No, that's just like, that's just random shit. Like, I don't even blame people for thinking of that, because some of the stuff is so wild that, like, it could fit in, but it's not one of them. Actually, sex is where, aside from the cleanliness rules, sex is actually where Judaism is kind of more based than other religions, in my opinion. I mean, I have lots of criticisms.
You have to do anal first. That's what Judaism says. Is that right?
Wow. Okay. No, there's some basic rules, like when you have sex for the first time, the man is supposed to be on top, because the man's supposed to look to where he came from, which is the ground, and the woman's supposed to look where she came from, which is the man, like his rib. But other than that, like, you're pretty free to do what you want. Like, Orthodox Judaism is fine with people doing like kink and like BDSM in their relationships, like, as long as they're married and they're practicing like the normal clean laws. One of the big things though is you can't ever waste semen. So they're very strict rules if you're going to waste
semen.
Spit or
swallow is not
considered,
a
like,
question.
holy.
It's not a question there. Spit or swallow, gone.
Yeah,
right?
No, it's definitely has to swallow. I'm pretty
Oh,
sure.
so you can swallow.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that, like, you should always finish like in the vagina.
Okay.
To my knowledge.
Yeah. I was about to say.
No, I know that there's exceptions. Like, there's exceptions. Like, if you have already a ton of kids, or if you're only if you're allowed to be on birth control.
Mm-hmm.
But if you technically, I remember a rabbi explaining this to me, that, like, if a man, like, gets off, right, and then he has like the semen, but then he has intention to freeze the semen and then eventually put it in a Jewish vagina, then it's okay. So there are ways you can get around it, but it's like a headache.
I wasn't expecting a Jewish vagina to come out of your mouth, but I'm
sure putting it in a non-Jewish vagina would be considered non-kosher.
So my background is very religious, right? I come.
Oh, really? I didn't know it.
Yeah. My dad was a pastor. 2 of my uncles were pastors, right? They were Southern Baptists. They didn't really hold on to a lot of those convictions because one of the Southern Baptist preachers was gay. But all of my family very religious. One of my aunts now is what's the word? They work at a hospital and they give last rites over people. I forget the exact word. Starts with a C, but so I come from a very religious background, right? We were at church every Sunday, sometimes every Sunday and Wednesday, depending on what church my dad was at, or whether he was the head pastor or the youth pastor.
You were like the pastor's son.
Yeah. And I actually got the least of the religions stuff because at like the pivotal point where they start trying to like get you into the church community, we moved churches and I didn't know anyone. And so I was like the kid that didn't get anything out of church. My older brother,
That sucked.
I mean, like, yeah, it's interesting looking at it from the outside, but my older brother still works in church work. My little brother was involved in churches growing up. We never got any of this, you know, like very, very like in-depth sexual knowledge or anything like that. So it's just like fascinating hearing that, like, because I know that I had a more religious upbringing than most people, but when people talk about, you know, what you're talking about, it's just like, holy shit, I was a pastor's son and I never once had to hear them talk about whether sex was a sin. Like my churches were always like very progressive, surprisingly, right? Like I
Did I tell you like not to masturbate or anything like that?
never once.
Really?
Never once. I remember distinctly, I think I was in 5th grade and absolutely based pastor. I fucking like, I loved this guy because he was so passionate about what he talked about, and he was so reasonable from my point of view, even as a kid. He talked about how we should be accepting of gay people, right? So I've always saw the Methodist Church as like very, very based. And I never
that's really cool.
I never heard any like stories like directly from people who grew up in like highly regimented religions, because it was actually ollie oxen free with my family, even as a pastor's son. Like we were, my dad was an outcast like in his town because he hung out with black kids as a kid, and he was like the first class to be integrated, right? So like people didn't like him very much. So I guess that might be where it comes from. But like, it's so fucking fascinating hearing all the rules that other people had to deal with.
Well, my mom hates that stuff. My mom is a staunch like second wave feminist, and so like she thought all the shit was super vile. It's one of the reasons why she didn't participate in it, even though her family like did it. And I always grew up with her having these arguments with like my religious family over things like abortion or you know, or like keeping kosher and all this kind of stuff. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff that's really crazy. And it's weird for me, like, because I have so many, for a while, I like idealized their life because I only saw the positives. And in some ways, there are some things that I think are really great about like this whole other lifestyle. Because there is shitty things about like the modern mainstream lifestyle that we lead. But like the biggest thing, I love the focus on family in their communities, like, and like just the sense of community and camaraderie. Like when someone goes to the hospital, everyone in the community goes and brings them flowers and things like that. I don't know, like I'm sure like I've heard that some Christian communities are exactly like that. And that's some of the stuff that I miss. But there's also like a lot of bigotry and stuff like that. Like in the community that I was in, like the racism is pretty normalized, especially just prejudice in general towards people who are not Jewish, completely normalized. Like there's like, and because they live so insular, and they don't interact with anyone, like anyone who's an outsider, even like most Jews actually don't practice this stuff. Most Jews are actually very atheist. So they consider those Jews as like dangerous Jews, like bad Jews. They're like the outsiders that have like, you know, assimilated into the Goy world, and you know, I want to talk to them. Some of my family, like if I marry someone that's not Jewish, which is probably would happen, most of my family wouldn't show up to the wedding. Like just shit like that. There's like a lot of dark sides to it too. That's kind of fucked up. Though they do allow women to masturbate, just not men.
Oh. Wait, I want to say I definitely want to dive into that one. That one's very interesting to me. This is one thing that I'll fight people to the death on. There is something that you'll get out of religious communities with like family values that I think is super valuable. I think that it's super it's really nice. My family is all like super Christian, and when I was growing up, I remember because we were in all these small, tiny little towns in Arkansas, right? Which is where I'm from, and we were right on the border of where Arkansas, Louisiana, and Alabama meet, and my dad was the pastor for like this kind of tri-state area little spot. And what you were saying about people bringing flowers to the hospital and stuff, like that was what because I was like, this is like right when I started gaining consciousness as a child, right? Like I can remember driving around with my dad while he went and did like wellness checks on people, because that's what that area needed. They didn't have people just calling wellness checks from the cops. Like the pastor went around and checked on people, right? And the community that kind of built was really cool. Even looking back at it, like 23 years later, it's really interesting to think about, and how different it is living in this huge city comparatively.
I actually think somehow I'm going to tie this back to what we were talking about before, but I think that's one of the reasons why everyone makes fun of people for being terminally online and shit. But it's like, can you blame people? Like, this is the only communities that like most of us have.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, unless you're really lucky and you somehow still have that, usually the people that come to you in those times, and like, the cliques, the groups, right? Like who's who, I don't know, like that sense of camaraderie, of feeling included and stuff. Like most people, at least in this sphere, definitely get that online. And so that's why I do think, like, I don't know, policing this world and stuff is somewhat important. And I don't think it's just like some stupid terminally online shit, because there's just like not an alternative. I don't have like I mean, I've got like some friends in real life and stuff, but like I'm totally ostracized from the Jewish community. And from the the Orthodox Jewish community that I grew up in. And there's some like reform or not as Orthodox versions of it, but I don't feel like a connect there at all. So yeah, this place.
So tell me
really
why.
Cool for that.
Tell me why women can masturbate but not men. I'm heavily invested in this one.
Okay, I mean, one of your chatters kind of guessed it earlier, but it's all about the semen. So, so male semen is holy, right? Jewish male semen is considered holy. So I actually don't think it necessarily applies to, I don't know if it would apply to non-Jewish men. I actually think non-Jewish men are probably allowed to masturbate. But Judaism only has rules for Jews. It actually believes that anyone else who's not a Jew is fine. As long as they follow some basic form of the 10 Commandments, they're Gucci. But yeah, so you can't waste semen. And so if you're masturbating but you're not finishing, you're actually not breaking any rules. The big rule that comes as a male, like, is when you or anyone with a penis rather, right, is the finishing moment, right, is the wasting of the cum. So in theory you could masturbate again if you freeze it with the intention of put it in a vagina, or if your wife's right there. If your wife's right there and you're just like masturbating in front of her, then that's actually totally legal. And then you finish right inside, right? Then you're good. It's all about the finishing. And so that's one of the reasons why it's legally allowed to be a lesbian, but you're not legally allowed to practice male gay things.
Interesting. So
it's not like encouraged or anything, but
sure.
You're not really breaking a really important law that way. But like wasting cum is a really big deal.
Wait a second. So the guy that had the giant cum jar with rainbow dash in it from 4chan, if he froze that, would he be kosher?
Yeah, if he froze that, like, he's probably, honestly, like, it probably might have been, I always wonder, like, what you can tell that this religion was mostly planned and organized by men, right? Like, because only dudes would like look at their cum and be like, this is holy. We must protect this at all costs.
Fucking true. Yo, dog, this shit right here, this shit make babies.
Yeah.
And I'm the baby maker. I must be so fucking based.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's exactly like the logic behind it. Though it has an unfortunate side effect for men because they end up being a little more restricted, but they get treated like kings other than that. So I feel like it's worth it in their world.
I'm so sorry. I want to take it out of the sex realm because I don't want to be like weird. What happens if a guy has a wet dream?
It's not something to be like encouraged. Like, it's considered like a bad thing, but as long as it wasn't intentional. If it's considered an accident, you can get over it.
Okay, gotcha.
So like, you're kind of, you're like okay in that situation.
Sorry, there were like three
No, Sondsol,
different.
if you're liking the sound of this, right, where like, you know, your semen is considered holy, right?
Hey, listen, if there's an Orthodox Jewish community nearby, I might be joining it. I need some people to worship my sperm. All right.
Yeah. There's actually, and for all your chatters, there's actually a huge male shortage in the Orthodox Jewish community. Believe it or not, like huge, like I don't know, maybe like 3 to 1 or I don't know. It's like crazy. Where there's so many more young women than there are dudes. And the reason for that is because dudes are given more leeway to go get educated and go travel around and like go around. They're kind of like, it's not as big of a deal for them to go to clubs and go kind of break some rules sometimes. For girls, it's a bigger deal. So it would make you like non-marriageable and stuff. So guys end up being exposed to the outside community, and because of that, they leave it much more. I know somehow men want to leave this world. I don't know why. And so they end up leaving that world a lot. And so you're left with all these like girls who are insular, and they need husbands. So there's a joke like within the Jewish community that like with in the Orthodox world, like a guy who's like a 2 visually, he can get like a 10, like the most beautiful woman ever. And you'll just have like stacks of resumes because we give out.
God, that describes my life. Let's fucking go. Fucking 2 going for a 10. Let's fucking go. That's so fucking interesting. Wowzers. So is it because it is seen as more reprehensible for a woman to leave the community, or are women just leaving the community less?
It's reprehensible for both.
Okay.
I think it's just women are given less opportunities just because they're not as exposed as often. Women are often less educated than men. They're not. They just don't have as much exposure to the outside world as a male because they're protected much more.
Gotcha. Yeah, I just didn't know if like, so in these communities, if rules are broken, I'm sure that there are different things for different offenses, but like, depending on what rules are broken, what are the consequences?
That depends on the specific individual community.
Let's start with like toilet paper ripping.
The big thing, there would be consequences if like there is a Jewish court. There are like Jewish courts and stuff.
Really?
But I think it's pretty rare that they handle more of these petty things. I think usually the consequences like to your soul. You know, you're gonna like God's gonna be pretty annoyed. And also there's like a social consequence where people will look down at you. You'll do bad in the marriage market, things like that. I remember someone I knew, just content warning, this involves a sexual assault. She was in a car alone with a guy, which you're not supposed to do anyways. And he like fingered her without her consent. And she calls me, she's one of my friends, because she's terrified she might get pregnant because she's so uneducated about sex and how sex works. And so that's her fear, that she might be pregnant, and not like what to do about the fact that she was just assaulted. Anyways, I explained that she's not pregnant and all of that stuff. And the main reason, like, they didn't want people to know. So her parents found out, and they decided they ended up arranging a marriage with the guy who was the rapist. And they thought that this was like the perfect solution to the problem, because they were worried that if it got out that she had been like fingered before or something, that her reputation would be on the line, and then she wouldn't do well in the marriage market, and she'd have to marry some like poor slob or something.
Damn.
So yeah, so they're crazy shit like that. But dudes it's so easy to marry in this community as like a dude. You get like a stack of resumes, because that's what they do. They do like resumes of like, you know, all your qualities as like a partner. So and stuff.
Is it all arranged marriages, or is this just like what the culture is, where they like send in applications and then the girl goes from them, or is it just like the parents?
It's like arranged. It's arranged dating. That's what I'll say. So like it's very rare that I saw that like you're not. It breaks the rules to force someone to marry that they don't want to, because there's a belief that if you really don't want to marry someone, it's because God's like telling you you're a bad match. But like all dates are arranged, and dates normally happen 3 times before you get engaged. You go on like 3 dates on average. If you're going on more dates than that, then it's going to start ruining your reputation. And it's usually the girls all have resumes, and they send and the girls' parents send them out to all the dudes' parents. And then the dude's parents kind of go through them, find like the best option, and they give it to the dude, and they're like, oh, like she's really pretty. I like that she likes reading this portion of the Talmud. You know, she wants to have 8 kids instead of 10. I agree. Like, things like that, and then they'll go out on a date, and it's a chaperone date.
Oh, okay. How far is it? Wait, I'm sorry. There's 2 questions I gotta ask you. One from chat and one from me. The one from me is, how far, like, what does the chaperone do? Like, what if things get hot and heavy? And then 2 is...
Okay, there's no hot and heavy. They cannot touch. They are not allowed to touch whatsoever. Like, there's no handshaking. There's no handshaking? Oh, no, not only that, right? You are in Orthodox Judaism as a woman, you are never allowed to touch any male that's not your husband or your direct family. If you are a male, you are not allowed to touch any female that is not your direct family or your wife. The only and this causes problems on like buses and trains, because you can't sit next to someone, especially if you're sitting next to someone that's fat and their like body's like touching you. It's really terrifying because it's like unkosher. So you definitely can't touch them. You can only touch them once you're married.
That's so fucking interesting.
Yeah, so not only have they not had sex, not only have they not kissed before marriage, but they haven't hugged, they haven't shaken one another's hands. Like, yeah, they haven't tapped each other on the shoulder.
Terrifying.
Yeah.
I legitimately can't imagine that. I actually, I'm sure you know who Big Papa Fascist is.
Yeah.
We talked about this. Not about this. We talked about the fact that I was moving in with my girlfriend, and that we weren't married. And he's like, "Why would you do that if you're not married?" And my thought was, why the fuck would I marry someone that I haven't lived with at some point? Why the fuck would that?
That's good logic. And statistically, those marriages last much longer if you look at them before.
Because it's like we could get along so well outside of living together, but if we can't find some way to be compatible, like being around each other all the fucking time, that's fucking such a such a thing to figure out after you've been legally married and all the legal ramifications that come from that, you know. The question from chat, fuck, where'd it go? Oh yeah, this is just a meme question. Is this why you made boyfriend applications?
Yeah, it was my way of getting back, you know, and
return.
Because it's my female revenge.
So, if it's all resumes and you can't go on more than 3, you
could, but people would start talking, you know.
Right.
They would start doing the evil tongue.
So, what if all the people in your area are just fucking shitheads?
Oh, then you go outside of the city.
Oh, you're allowed to?
It's very common. So it's actually, because communities used to be so insular, this started to be a huge problem with diseases. As you can imagine, because people ended up literally marrying their cousins.
Yeah.
And and or like they were married their cousins or something like that, and so it actually caused a huge problem with with genetics, as it does for a lot of like very insular communities. So it started to happen in like the early 2000s. Was people started doing genetic testing for things like Tay-Sachs and all of that kind of stuff. So a lot of times and so now the Orthodox Jewish community, like before they do any kind of date or even meet, they test you to see if you share like any of the genes that are going to cause issues for your kids. If you have, I forget the technical terms for it. So sometimes in those situations, like people end up not having someone in their community that they like or something like that. So they end up often dating outside of the city. So it's very common for like people who live in Montreal to be marrying someone in New York, etc. That's very common.
So do you think, just like from your anecdotal experience, do you find that people are okay, so one thing I know is when it comes to marriages and arranged marriages, there is some evidence that shows that arranged marriages last longer than non-arranged marriages. Do you think that people generally like their husband and wife, or does it seem like they tolerate them?
They adore them.
They adore them.
The ones, I mean, it goes south sometimes, but just anecdotally, all the people I know absolutely adore their husbands. The reasons why I would guess, I think there's some problems with the system often, but I think having your parents, people are going to think I'm crazy, but I think having your parents help with the choice of who you end up being with. I don't mean just like your typically normal girlfriend, but like your future wife or husband or whatever. I think that helps because it helps you think about like a lot of the things that people don't think about when they start dating. Because usually when someone starts dating, it's like, are they hot? Do I like their personality? They're not thinking, do we share the same values? They're not thinking, do we want the same amount of kids? Or do we want kids at all? They're not thinking like, are we going to be focusing on our careers or focusing on our family? They're not thinking like, do we, are our families going to get along? Is there going to be conflict? Like they're not thinking like that. Or like, what's their credit score like? Do they have a reputation of lending people and never paying them, or like borrowing money and never paying it back? Like those are all things that really factor into whether or not like your parents help set you up with like or arrange a good marriage for you. And I think those are things people should think about much more. Like they should, when they're dating, instead of thinking like, who do I want to have sex with and spend some time with right now, they're not thinking like, is this person a good long-time partner for me? So I think that probably is the factor that's like the big deal that helps. There's also like I also think there's like an attitude with marriage that's different. In like Orthodox circles, divorce is kind of frowned upon. Like you still are allowed to divorce, but there's a stigma. And so because of that, people tend to view marriage as just something you stick out. So it's less about like romantic love and more like your family. Like you've signed up to be family with each other.
It's really,
they have lower expectations, so they're satisfied more.
Okay. I'm gonna have to end stream soon. I'm like genuinely super interested in this, and I would love to learn more about this. Like super genuinely.
Sure.
There's a stupid fuck in chat. Would you be down for like a 10-20 minute debate with a stupid fuck in chat?
What
it's up to you.
Are they accusing me of being an apartheid?
They're seemingly doing the exact same thing as Mr. Bad Empanada. If it's an alt of his, you can just like leave the call and I'll meme on him.
Sure.
All right. CIA Dylan, add me as a friend on Discord. You have literally 45 seconds. That's my name and number. All right. I'm looking at a clock right now. 45 seconds to add me.
So is this like your normal method with dealing with random haters?
Oh, no, just right now because I am now definitely inebriated and I have to pee. And so this guy has a very short amount of time to jump in here. No friend request yet. Come on, CIA Dylan. I'm fucking waiting.
It's a good name, CIA Dylan.
I mean, listen, if anyone's Fed posting, it's him. So
Is the accusation that like Dylan Burns is a
maybe. Oh shit! I didn't even think about that. Tell her to ring the original empanada, shithead. Okay, 1 second. I'm gonna fucking go hard, so I'm sorry if I'm loud. Okay, so obviously you're bad empanada. You fucking coward. Not using your actual... No, unban him. Hold on. You stupid fuck. Infinity, unban him. I want to hear it. I want to see what he says to this. Bad empanada fucking on an alt right now saying that he wants to argue on the actual Bad Empanada channel. Holy shit, look at him right there using an alt. What a fucking coward. You challenged me to a debate, I responded to you, and then you ran away like a pussy, all right? Like you do every single time that you've contacted me. This is the third time you've contacted me for a debate, all right? It's literally Bad Empanada. He's saying it in chat. So, okay, sorry, Eris. I didn't mean for that to happen, but hey, I genuinely had a really good time talking about this. This is super fucking interesting.
Yeah. No, that was super fun.
Yeah, no, like super
I'm sorry
fun.
that now you're gonna get canceled for being associated with someone, you know, who lived in
a white South Africa
after
apartheid. Yeah, listen. If I had a if I had a quarter for every single time that I've been canceled, I would be, I really wouldn't be rich. I haven't gotten into that much controversy, but I will literally lose my career over arguing with Bad Empanado. I won it at this point, but because this fucking coward has come at me.
Is he not going to debate you? Is that like...
He's not sent me a friend request, and he seems to have run away from chat as soon as I called him out. That's why he's not responding in chat, because it's him on an alt. I've wondered why this motherfucker has come at me so hard so many times in my chat, but like now I know it must be him on an alt. And if it's not him on an alt, if this is a fucking if this is just one of his people, then please let him know. I'm ready for it. How dare I platform a Zionist who's white?
Sorry.
Okay, you know what? Yes. Okay, you know what?
Secret plan.
Yeah. Okay, this is what what a fucking baby bitch boy. I so love the fact that he has been caught in 4K, all right? This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to raid out. Okay,